This is Democracy Watch. Mark, Donald Trump keeps saying that he doesn't even need votes to win the election, suggesting that he has other ways of interfering with the results.
My instruction, we don't need the votes. I have so many votes.
We don't need votes. I tell my people, I don't need any votes. We got all the votes we need. I don't need votes. We don't need votes. We got more votes than anybody's ever had. You don't have to vote. Don't worry about voting. The voting, we got plenty of votes.
Don't worry about voting. Of all the weirdness around this campaign, this is a truly strange thing to tell people, right? Don't vote. I don't need your vote. I don't want your vote. I mean, all the surface level weirdness is, worth noting. Having a new position on literally anything you can think of as soon as any random rich guy tells you to, that's a weird thing. Picking the eccentric billionaire's intern for your running mate, even though you apparently had no idea who he was or what a disaster he is on television, all of this is weird. But telling voters, do not bother to vote for me, it doesn't matter if you do, I don't need your votes. That is a thing that should prick up your ears. Because what that means is that he doesn't think he needs to win the vote to win the election.
One of those ways just came surging into the open. So what did your team at Democracy Docket just uncover?
Yeah, so Matt Cohen, one of the writers at Democracy Docket, wrote a piece about a network of self-styled election integrity groups. Let's be clear. These are nothing other than right-wing vigilante operations. They are small armies of volunteers that are trying to identify registered voters that they don't want to vote. These are people who they want to kick off the voter rolls, notwithstanding the fact they don't know them, they've never met them, and they are targeting these folks for removal in state after state, county after county.
Where are we seeing these right-wing efforts to try and disenfranchise massive numbers of voters by removing them from the rolls?
We're seeing them all over the place. I mean, we're seeing them in battleground states like Nevada, Michigan, Wisconsin, North Carolina, Georgia, but we're also seeing them in states that are important like Florida and Texas. I mean, Brian, the fact is, those are the states we already know about. And the real concern is, what are the unknown unknowns? What are the places out there where this is already happening, but it hasn't been detected? Where are the places where they are plotting for this to happen as we get closer to the election? Where are the places where they are going to scale this up? And where are the places where they have election deniers on the inside of these election offices facilitating this suppression activity? So we need to be prepared for this to happen just about everywhere, because we're seeing it in a lot of really important places already.
So who's behind these 8 major right-wing groups that Democracy Docket uncovered? Are they affiliated with the Republican Party? Like, who's funding them?
So good question where the money's coming from, because, and you and I have talked about this now for months and years, there is a well-funded constellation of right-wing groups that came into being after 2020 that have been filing voter suppression litigation, have been trying to file lawsuits to allow voter intimidation, election official intimidation, and have been part of this mass challenge movement in both filing the charges, but also building the tools to enable these challenges. You know, we've talked before about some of those efforts: Voter Referendum Foundation, Eagle AI, the tools built by True the Vote. So there is a lot of money that is coursing through this system. We know that this ecosystem relies on some very localized grassroots organization like Pigpen Project in Nevada, north of 29 in Wisconsin. But there are also big groups like Cleta Mitchell. Remember her? Cleta Mitchell's backed election integrity network, True the Vote, which I mentioned. A newcomer, at least a newcomer to me in this fight, something called the United Sovereign Americans. And of course, that doesn't sound great. But we're seeing big groups, small groups, all working towards a common aim. And, in some places, we know the Republican Party is working with them. So we have to assume that this is Trump inspired and MAGA directed and probably integrated in some way with Trump and the RNC.
In theory, election officials should have some obligation to try and prevent this. So are they trying to prevent this attack on voters?
So look, I mean, I think that it's a mixed bag. I mean, in some places, yeah, they are. I mean, you know, in Nevada, you know, you have seen the Secretary of State and the AG really do an exemplary job in pushing back on this. We have seen we have seen pushback on this in some other states. But honestly, in states like Georgia, one of the reasons why Georgia has turned into kind of the national scandal that it has is because the legislature keeps enabling this activity. They keep passing rules to make these challenges easier. And we know what the state board of elections is like in Georgia with the 3 Trump-endorsed MAGA members that keep passing more bad rules around certification. So, you know, in some states, yes, they're pushing back. In some states, they're enabling it. And of course, we also have to worry what's happening at the local level, at the county level, where some counties, again, are very vigilant in really protecting voting rights, and in other counties, they have been infiltrated by election denialers.
Well, I ask this half tongue-in-cheek, but why doesn't the left reciprocate? Like, not to succeed at this necessarily, but just to show Republicans that this effort is dangerous and that they can screw themselves if they keep engaging in these antics.
Look, I think the Republican Party is committed to a program of voter suppression and election subversion. Donald Trump was running a election subversion and voter suppression program in 2020. He has built his entire campaign around those notions. He has built an entire movement around those notions. And it is simply not, there is an asymmetry of election denialism. I wrote about this for Democracy Docket, that the kinds of election denier tactics that you see Donald Trump and his faithful engage in, you simply don't see the same on the left or among Democrats. So, you know, each party has a different culture. Each movement has a different set of tactics. Democrats are very energized right now by Kamala Harris and Tim Walz and by an amazing slate of Democrats up and down the ballot to get out the vote and a big movement to protect the votes. Republicans are a sad, decaying movement of people who follow a failed one-term president who tried a violent insurrection in 2020 and is going to lose in 2024. So that's where we are. We have to be worried about this. We have to be vigilant about it, but we're going to stay on our game.
Well, I know, a lot of people watching right now can take some solace in the fact that you and your firm and your team are really at the forefront of this issue. So for those watching, if you want to support the invaluable work that Marc and his team are doing, please make sure to sign up for Democracy Docket. It's the free news outlet Marc founded to focus on everything voting elections. I'll put the link right here on the screen and also in the post description of this video. I'm Brian Tyler Cohen.
I'm Marc Elias.
This is Democracy Watch.